I'm Genevieve Gorder. I'm an interior designer who happens to be on television for the last 17 years. I have to design for the future with almost everything. So every product I make, I have to forecast what's going to be cool in 3 years, 2 years from now, what's trending right now in television, in fashion, in politics, in current events. I need to know all of that stuff always, because that's what drives color. It's what drives pattern, and it gives logic to what we do. So this is where all the action happens. This is my kitchen. It's not huge, but I've used the space vertically. The cabinets go all the way to the top of the ceiling, which is like 11 feet. And I brought in a big ladder where I can get at all that seasonal storage all the time. My stove is like Voltron. It's like he can do everything. This stove is magic. It turns into so many different gadgets. I can have a griddle, I can have a fish pot here, I can have my burners stacked higher. It's ridiculous. The stone, Kalakata marble, Borghini is the quarry that it's from. It's like the Rolls Royce of stone. It has so much veining in drama, and when you walk in, it like smacks you in the face. I love good stone. Last but not least, a little Bauhaus drawer action. This curve kind of breaks up all the straight masculine lines of the cabinetry. 1920s kitchen of the future from Germany. And I keep all my salt, pasta, grains. It's like this perfect little surprise. So now we're coming into my dining room, which I actually use a lot. Dining rooms get so underused in most people's home. When it's part of a bigger open layout, you actually use it. And my favorite piece in this room is actually the window. It's a series of French windows that are mullioned and look like pre-war New York, and that was the intent. And they open up onto this huge block-long garden where you can actually hear birds. Big deal in New York. Birds are muddy. Big built-ins floor to ceiling to create the illusion of more space, a taller space, and this mammoth table I had designed, zinc with big old cast iron legs. And the piece that grounds everything is this enormous zodiac pendant. It has all the signs of the zodiac on a big belly band, and it really brings everybody to the back of the apartment to sit and linger, and that's what you want. Hi, I'm Genevieve Gorder. As a designer, I'm always looking for unique solutions for styling different rooms. Today, I'm going to show you how you can maximize your small space with these great items from Cost Plus World Market's Fall Collection. Verticality is your best friend when it comes to small spaces. So anything you can do to lead that eye up the wall instead of focusing on that small footprint is a good idea. I do this through oversized plants and trees in any corner. They add great texture and they give that seduction to the eye to move up the wall. Vertical bookcases, so great in any space, but in a small space, it also creates a lot more movement that's necessary so that eye never focuses on the proportions of the room, but dances throughout all the bookshelves. Vary up what you're showing. Books, ornament, photography, keep that eye moving. Metallic and reflective surfaces. Mirrors, we all know they are the great illusion makers of any space in the house. If you can reflect and bounce natural light around the room with the copper and the silver and the gold, you're creating a sense of lightness and you're also keeping those eyes moving. Small spaces need regularly proportioned furniture, not a bunch of small pieces of furniture, because that will make me feel that the place is overcrowded and small.
Hi, I'm Jen Rogers and I'm here with Genevieve Gorder. Hi, Genevieve.
Hi, Jen. Nice to see you again.
You too. I mean, it's crazy. Everybody knows you, I think, as a designer and a TV personality. And frankly, that's kind of what I thought of you as. And then I dove in and I realized you're really a businesswoman. Tell me all the businesses that you are in, if you can even figure them out.
I mean, yes, I'm a businesswoman. It's not what I lead with. And I do think it's something that I regretfully wish I had taken alongside design, and I think it should be a requirement, art schools, if you're listening, that we, in tandem, learn business, because creatives so often have no clue as our left brains are this big, and we sell ourselves short.
When I think about it, you're almost like a one-woman gig economy, freelance situation, right? You have to run your own company. How do you do that? Like, cobble all of this together then to make Genevieve Gorder the brand?
Social media is definitely one job we all have to have on our own to promote ourselves and what we're doing to our audiences.
And that's 24 hours a day.
Gosh, I wish it was less. You know, I try and in my mind, I say, I will give 10 to 15% of my day to this every day. It keeps growing. As far as what businesses I have right now, I mean, if you're not diverse at this point in life and time, you're a dinosaur. I have a lot of product partnerships where I'm creating lines of furniture, fabric, wallpaper, getting into paints now.
Did you have rugs too?
Rugs,
I feel like, I mean,
yes.
see, like you have so many things, you can't even remember all of them. I was going through.
It's like, a lot. It's an octopus.
Yeah.
And then there's the TV side of your life. There's the podcast part of your life, and there's press. So I would say there's at least 8 arms that, you know, I'm just the globule head of all of these arms. And they get longer and shorter depending on what time of year it is.
So this is my private quarters. This is my boudoir. I think the most beautiful parts of it for me are the doors. I had both of these harvested in Morocco. So I saved the most beautiful one for the entry to my bedroom. And then I have these hammam doors that go into my closet, which for every woman is probably one of the most important spaces of her home. As far as the bed goes, regardless of style, it is the throne of the room. This is an old Indian bed that I actually painted to make a little bit lighter, and so I could see all this crazy detail on the capitals of these columns. I like less color on my bed, so I have about 50 shades of white, and it's a real textural story from Mexico, from Morocco, from Tunisia. Then we have India, and then my grandma's pillowcase. And I like those heavy, weighty blankets, like when you go to an x-ray. And so the bed feels like 50 pounds of blankets on you, and I love that. That to me is sexy. I don't know why, that's probably weird. Anyway, I'm not telling you anything more about my bedroom because this is my private place. You get enough of my life. This is probably the funnest space in the entire house, and it should be. This is my 6-year-old daughter's room, and the highlight of this room really only cost me about $20, and that's this swing that I literally made out of home improvement store rope and an old chunk of plywood, and it is like a club for first graders. They line up, they queue, they can't wait to come over after school, and it's her big show-off piece. Why? Because they're 6. This is my grandma's bed that I repainted and I grew up sleeping in. I think the big hero moments in here for me are having storage that works for kids, where they know where things go and where they are when they want to play with them. So it helps with cleanup and it helps with playtime, which gives you a little bit of free time. There's so much stuff in here I could really go on for hours, but it's time to go. Thank you for watching. I hope to show you more of it because you're missing 50% of it. Have a good day. So we have traditionally sized items, sofa and 2 chairs, but without arms. When there's no arms on the furniture, you have more accessibility to every square inch of the room. Very important for a small space. Layering. Not only do we layer the pillows to create that depth of texture and color, I also layered the floor. One area rug should be a bit oversized to trick the eye into thinking that the floor plan is bigger than it is. A small decorative rug on top is absolutely fine and adds more depth to the floor area. Lighting, it's really good to have diversity in your lighting. Table lamps, floor lamps, sconces, change the environment and bounce that light and create that movement around a small space all day, all night long. Multi-purpose anything is a great idea in a small space. This sofa is actually a day bed as well, so any guests sleeping over.
How hands-on are you with the business side of all of this?
Super. I've become better in the last, 5 to 10 years, much better. In the beginning, I was just a ball of giggles and I had no idea what this was. There is no template for my job. It didn't exist before Trading Spaces happened. So all of it is kind of me with a machete making the path. I feel that being authentic is probably the thing I do best. And that means that it has to be in my voice and it has to come from these hands and this brain.
You had a really interesting comment about the corporate ladder. You talked about having to sometimes go down the ladder and up the ladder.
Yes.
Can you talk about why you would ever go down the ladder?
you put ego aside, I think we sometimes lead that climb of ladder for ego alone and maybe don't know that, hey, it's cool right here. Let's stop for a minute. Let's take another ladder. Let's go a different way. It's not just one trajectory to happiness and success.
Let's go back to the beginning. The scrappy Midwest.
The Midwest is scrappy. We're the spine of the country. Without us, it all falls apart. You could cut off a coast and we could still function. You cut the spine out, we fall down. Soul music, jazz, and we all know how to make stuff. And so it's part of the personality of the Midwest. We can also dance.
Oh yeah, and you did some dancing. You've been around musicians.
Yeah.
Violin.
Yeah, I played violin for like 25 years.
It's crazy.
I speak and design with music. What are the highs? What are the lows? Where's the pause in a room? Where's the crescendo? Where do we get crazy? I see it all like music.
Wow.
It helps.
Who did you learn the most about money from, your mom or your dad, do you think?
Neither.
Who taught you the most about money?
My grandparents, my grandfather particularly. And at 97, he's still teaching me about money. Coming from the Depression, and I think this knowing what it's like not to have, the value of money, how to keep it, how to make it, and math were his great lessons. He's the voice of reason for money for me. I also knew from my parents, my mother and father having been divorced, I never want to rely on anyone for my success and my money. I don't want to have to ask for it, and I don't want to have to wait for it. I want to make it myself.
Is that part of why you got a job when you were pretty young? And can you talk about your first jobs? I think you're 14, you were working at a restaurant?
Yeah, well, and now I should preface it and say that my mom is now a doctor and put herself through school, like she graduated at 50. But when I was a kid, we didn't have a lot. So at 14, I could work. I worked at TCBY. It was a frozen yogurt. I don't know if you remember it.
Do you remember what you made?
Like $3.
Oh,
I closed the shop at like midnight and would walk home at 14. That is not cool.
If I had to give a number one question from anybody, any year, it would be, what are the trends? What's trending right now? What should I buy this year? What isn't cool anymore? I love this question. It is all about the Scandinavian. And yes, I am half Viking. Scandinavian design really lives by the motto that less is more. Everything in your space is there for a reason, and it should matter. Let's talk about color. What does it mean when we say Scandinavian palette? Well, they do black and they do white better than anybody. Why? Because most of the year, the land is covered with white. And so they pop up little exteriors of their houses in the contrasting black. They do it in very severe, beautiful ways. They do it in the interiors as well. I even did it in my own living room. So how do I paint a room black and not be scared? Well, you just have to create balance like you would with any color. Bring in a lighter colored floor. Bring in a lighter colored area rug. Bring in neutral sofas and chairs to balance out the earthiness and weight of black. But I promise you, that room will be everyone's favorite. When it comes to Scandinavian design, they do not mess with beige. It is all gray. Think of driftwood, think of docks. Docks in water, in lakes. This is the kind of gray that goes beautifully with Scandinavian design, and you see all over the place in major furniture stores, from dining tables to flooring. I use it on my floors, and I think it's my favorite piece of my whole house. Beyond the black and white, the real Scandinavian design story is told through texture. Leathers, metals, tassels, rope, all of these things work together. So how do these textures weave their way throughout my home? I mean, they're literally everywhere. And you see that in my living room with this saddle nut leather sofa, and matched it with a beautiful, very natural linen sofa, paired with maybe a 1920s metal industrial fan. And then you bring in the brass, so you have the mixed metal story. There's a big portrait of my great-grandmother's ship coming into New York Harbor as she immigrated. She's not from Scandinavia, she's actually from Croatia. But the ship, the power of that ship is also really cohesive with the Scandinavian style.
But yes, I've always known what it is to work. I've been babysitting since I was 10. So yeah, busy.
And now you have your own daughter.
I do.
What do you hope she gets from watching you run your business?
This has been a conversation I've been having with myself since she was born, because you have that mom guilt initially in that I have to go away from you. And my satiation was always saying to myself, I need her to watch me work because this is what she's going to have to do one day. And I want her to see how much I love this and how good I am at this. And that's like, what a huge gift of confidence that you can give to your daughter, especially of, watch me do this. Look what happens because I do this. And she's definitely gotten the message. Of course, she wants me home every day, every minute right now. That might change in 2 years. But having a sense of purpose as a mom, beyond being a mom, and crushing it is, I think, one of the best gifts I can give her in life. 4 times over at this point.
In each of these 100 drawers, I labeled all my weird stuff. What it says on the label is actually in the drawer. So normal things that I store that you'll probably store in your apothecary when you get it after you watch this: tapes, strings and twine, cords. Oh, it's a great place to put all your extension cords and old tech cords that you don't really want to throw away. This is that spot. So when you're dealing with an older apothecary, to make the labels look old so it looks more in relation to the piece that you just purchased, which is typically over 100 years old, I soaked white paper in a black tea for about 30 minutes, and then I just laid them out to dry on the counter on some towels, hair dried it a little bit, and then I marked it up, cut them, and I wrote each label out. And there were 100 drawers, so it took 2 hours. In the long run, I mean, I've maybe switched out the labels once or twice here and there, so it's not like you're doing this all the time. This is a piece that is coveted in my house. Everybody who comes in wants this piece. It's command center pre-war style, and it's awesome. It doesn't seem to matter how big your kitchen is. We all want more kitchen storage. I have an apartment-sized kitchen, so finding more space for storage was tricky. You have to be tricky when it comes to the kitchen because each cabinet costs a lot of money too. So whether in a more vertical apartment like my own, which has about 11-foot ceilings, or a very standard size home, which has 8-foot ceilings, I always build the cabinetry all the way up from the floor to the ceiling. Use every single square.
It's a thing. It's a thing. It's a whole nother show too.
What is the best advice about money that you can give?
With money, it's going back into your childhood and really looking at what the relationship to money was when you were just finding out what money was. Did your parents have any? Was it always like, how are we gonna pay this? Was it evil? What were the monetary goals in your household? Were there any? Chances are, if your family didn't have money, they struggled with money, they didn't have a good outlook on what money was, they didn't invest it, you're probably that adult too. So knowing what that was, putting it in its place, and doing the work to get to a place where it's okay to be friends with money, it's okay to have it, and it's okay to make it.
You said you love games.
I do, I love
So you
games.
ready? We have a game here to play.
Except games of the heart, I don't like that.
Okay, I'm gonna give you these, and I want you to tell me if they're worth more or less than $10. And that first one is a 100 Cambodian riel.
Less.
It is 2.5 cents.
Yes, ding, 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 I got
You
one.
are right.
Okay, with
That
Korea?
is 100 Chinese yuan. More.
Less.
That is actually around $14.
No.
I know. This is
No,
20
this
Swedish
is-
krona.
So sweet, whoever this is on this krona.
I don't know, she's cute.
I'd say that the krona, 20 krona is worth more.
Less.
Oh, okay, two wrong, one right. Okay.
$2.22. And
Last, it's worth nothing.
You got that one right. You nailed the Monopoly money.
Okay, 50-50. I think that's appropriate for a designer.
Love it. That's perfect.
When it comes to storage, I think the answer to all of your questions is pretty simple and pretty cliche. A place for everything and everything in its place. I know, it's boring, I'm not a cliche girl, but it works. Kids. What do I do with all their stuff? It just gets more and more and more and more every day, every year. How do I store it all? And how do I store it in a way that kids will know where to go and find their things and then maybe put them back? For my daughter Bebel, who's almost 7, from a big box store, there is a white kind of lacquered laminate unit, very inexpensive, with just open square pockets, where I can house any kind of vessel and label it in any kind of way to put all of her toys. Now, when she was tiny, it was diapers, it was blankets, it was crib sheets. Now that we're almost 7, she can read. So there are tags on every single little beautiful fabric box that I love and would put in any room, adult or kid, and it says the word tea sets. Now, how do you get to those higher cabinets? A sliding ladder is something that is so affordable and we were doing for hundreds of years. And they look great with beautiful modern cabinets or very traditional cabinets. All you need to do is build a reinforced rail at the top of your first upper cabinet where you can hook that ladder on. Whether it rolls or just hooks is up to you. But what it lets you do is get to all that upper storage where you're gonna put your seasonal stuff, whether it's Christmas, whether it's your table linens, whether it's the stuff you only bring out at Thanksgiving. Another thing that I did in my kitchen for storage that made it a little bit more unexpected, I invested in some beautiful Bauhaus little grain bins. They were from the kitchen of the future in 1921. So what they are little metal drawers that have this gorgeous curved handle. The labels on these metal drawers are in German. Now, I speak many languages, German isn't one of them, so I did look up what each of the labels meant. And it lets me put rice, macaroni, sugar in a really easy, practical place to access, but it adds the femininity that the cabinets were missing. So when things are in the right place, just like for anybody, designer or not, when you know where your stuff is, you stop working for your home. Your home starts working for you. And that's when life gets good. It's not about your style. It's not about the colors you use. It's not about where in the world you live. It's about creating a sense of being without forcing it. When things look like they're not trying, but they feel really comfortable or really beautiful, that's when we attain sophisticated. There is no real rhythm to this. Sometimes I'll be shooting a show and I'll be a blur. You will barely see me. My friends get mad. My daughter has to ping pong with me. Other times I'm home for 5 months at a time and I'm doing someone's private apartment down the street and I'm designing products. As I've aged, now in my 40s, I feel like it's the most wonderful time in my life where everything culminates together. I'm a designer, a world traveler. I'm a multitude of things. However, at this point in life, I'd like my big spider web of everything I do to go through the center of doing something for global good or educating kids. Hi, dorm people. I'm paying attention to you. When it comes to walls, you can't paint them and you can't put any nails in it. So what is a girl or a guy supposed to do? You can always use temporary wallpaper, but it can be pricey. Well, I have a really easy and cheap solution for you because I know money's tight, guys. A really easy and simple way to dress up your walls on a budget is to create a fabric wall. It's so easy to make, great for a budget. All you need is fabric starch, a squeegee, and some thumbtacks. So, first thing you want to do is you need to go to a fabric store. You're basically going to be painting the wall with fabric. Get the $1 a yard fabric that you can buy by the bolt. Get something really subtle or something crazy, depending on what your style is. Nubby, brighter than that off-white manila folder paint that they use on the dorms. Once you've measured out your fabric, spray starch the back, pin it up to the wall with thumbtacks, and then spray starch and squeegee. You can do a panel or a whole wall. And what you do is you create a new color, a new sound in the room, because it all of a sudden becomes a little bit more hushed and less echoey, and it's so pretty. Lighting. I like to do the unexpected when it comes to lighting in dorms. First of all, turn off all the fluorescents that were put in your room and never turn them on for the rest of the semester. They are for surgery only, and that is the only reason fluorescent lights should be anywhere. So now that we have that down, it's time to bring in some of your own lighting. Bring in table lamps, desk lamps, bring in a chandelier. It's totally the antithesis of what dorm life looks like, and it is a beautiful contrast. While you can't hardwire into the ceiling, there are plenty with exposed wires that you can simply tack along the crease of where the wall meets the ceiling, and you have a beautiful chandelier over your bed. Storage is at a premium when it comes to dorm living. There's not a lot of space, so where do you put all of life? And while we all know the tricks under the bed and raising the legs so you even have more space under the bed, under the desk, in the closet, I love using that little transomy area above doors. This is a great place to hang some shelving. You can put your extra textbooks, you can put shoes, you can put all your folded towels. And there are plenty of systems that just stick right on the wall. In a dorm, you're tight on space, so you really want to curate what you put in your room. Steamer trunks are great because you can put a lot in them and also use them as a coffee table or even a bench. But think color. A beautiful white, a deep navy, or even a hot pink can give you a lot of bang for your buck. And woven baskets. Use them to hold your extra books, your linens, but think shape, like this wonderful drum basket, and think texture. A rough woven basket can look like an art piece in your room. That industrial carpeting makes nobody happy. So what you can do, while you can't take it up, what you can do is layer with area rugs. Layer lots of pattern in the middle of that room to really brighten, lighten, and add some depth to the floor. So don't be discouraged by what you're given. You can change your entire space really cheaply and really easily with a bit of creativity and the tips I just delivered. Good luck. I have a lot of rope-like textures to keep telling the Scandinavian story. Nets, knots, turns into macrame, rope-wrapped pots, cylinders. Use them as hanging sculptures. They're just a beautiful ornament anywhere. And yes, it's a very masculine story, but it's softened by feminine patterns, tassels, and fringe, and little embellishments throughout the space. Nature is Scandinavian design. Bringing in those rustic, natural wood tones and textures into your house may seem like it's from every country, but it really is prominent in the Scandinavian style. They worship at the altar of nature, and so having living things all over your home is crucial to kind of uphold that style. I do it through ferns, I do it through dried roots, I do it through rustic woods. So I took a huge root, it's actually a bitter root, and hung it on my wall at the top of my stairs. It's pretty dramatic. Now, while I'm at it, what other things should we just kind of push to the side? Granite. Granite is one of those things that we've overused to death as well. I love stone, I love all stone. I just don't want to see any more granite countertops for a while, because when we did it too much, and now I don't want granite at the party. The chevron. A timeless, ancient pattern, yet we did it so hard, we need a break. Put your chevron in the closet for a while, or let it be a layering piece underneath something else. So when you're working with Scandinavian design, make everything count. Make it elegant and make it purposeful. And you don't have to be Scandinavian to live Scandinavian.